We need to talk about something serious, Vanessa said, setting down her wine glass with that deliberate slowness that always preceded bad news. My friends think you're holding me back. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been reviewing quarterly reports. The words hung in the air between us like smoke from an extinguished candle. Visible, acrid, impossible to ignore. Okay, I said simply. She blinked. Clearly, she'd expected pushback. An argument. Maybe tears or accusations. What she got was my complete, unfiltered agreement. I'm 31. She's 29. We'd been together for 4 years, living together for 2 of them in a decent apartment in downtown Seattle. I worked as a financial analyst for a mid-size investment firm. Vanessa was a marketing coordinator at a tech startup that had recently secured Series B funding. On paper, we looked perfect together, ambitious, educated, child-free by choice, with matching Peloton bikes gathering dust in the corner. You're not going to say anything else? She pressed, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. That nervous habit of hers that surfaced whenever she didn't get the reaction she wanted. What would you like me to say? I closed my laptop, giving her my full attention. That your friends are wrong? That I'm not holding you back? Well, aren't you going to defend yourself? I leaned back against the couch cushions, considering her question with the same analytical approach I'd use for a financial projection. Tell me honestly, do you think I'm holding you back? The hesitation lasted maybe 3 seconds. 3 seconds too long. I think, she started carefully, that we want different things now than we did when we started dating. That's not an answer to my question. She stood up, pacing to the window that overlooked the city lights. Trevor and Madison were talking at brunch last Sunday. They said I've changed since we got together. That I used to be more spontaneous, more driven. They think I'm settling. Trevor, I repeated flatly. The guy who's been engaged 3 times and never made it to the altar. And Madison, who calls in sick every other Monday because she's too hungover to function. Those are your life coaches now. Don't be condescending. I'm being accurate. I stood up, walking to the kitchen to get some water. My hands were steady. My voice was calm. Inside, something was crystallizing, a clarity I'd been avoiding for months. But you still haven't answered my question. Do you think I'm holding you back? Vanessa turned to face me, and in the reflection of the window behind her, I could see both versions of her. The woman in front of me and her mirror image, slightly darker, slightly more honest. Sometimes I wonder what my life would look like if I'd made different choices, she admitted. There it was. The truth wrapped in diplomatic language. I drank my water slowly, letting the moment breathe. 4 years of relationship, and it came down to this. Her wondering about roads not taken while standing in the life we'd built together. When did you start feeling this way? I asked. I don't know. Maybe after the promotion opportunity came up? 6 months ago, Vanessa had been offered a senior marketing position that would have required relocating to San Francisco. Better pay, better title, better everything. Except it would have meant leaving Seattle, leaving our apartment, and yes, probably leaving me. She turned it down without much discussion. At the time, I'd thought it was because she valued what we had. Now I wondered if she'd been building resentment ever since. You blame me for San Francisco, I said. Not a question. I don't blame you. You didn't force me to stay. But you wish you'd gone. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. I set down my glass and walked past her into our bedroom. She followed, confusion knitting her eyebrows together. What are you doing? I pulled my large suitcase from the closet and laid it open on the bed. Started removing my clothes from the dresser drawers. T-shirts, jeans, socks, underwear. Everything folded with mechanical precision. Wait, stop. What are you doing? Removing the obstacle, I said calmly, moving to the closet for my work shirts. This is crazy. I didn't say I wanted to break up. I paused, a stack of button-downs in my hands. Vanessa, you just told me your friends think I'm holding you back, and when I asked if you agreed, you couldn't say no. What exactly did you think was going to happen here? I thought we'd talk about it. Work on things. Maybe couples therapy, or therapy to change the fact that you want a different life than the one we're living. I resumed packing. That's not something a therapist can fix. You can't compromise on fundamental incompatibility. We're not incompatible. We've been happy. Have we? I stopped again, looking at her directly. Or have we been comfortable? Because those aren't the same thing. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. You're being unfair. I'm being honest. Something we should have been 6 months ago. I grabbed my toiletries from the bathroom. When you turned down San Francisco, did you resent me for it? No. Vanessa. Maybe a little, she whispered. But it wasn't your fault. It was my choice. A choice you've been silently resenting me for ever since. I zipped up my toiletry bag. That's not a relationship. That's a slow-motion breakup where one person is too polite to pull the trigger. The truth was, I'd seen this coming. Maybe not tonight, not in these exact words, but the signs had been accumulating like snow before an avalanche. The way she'd stopped asking about my day. The frequency of her girls' nights that used to be monthly and had become weekly. How she'd scroll through Instagram for hours, looking at influencers living glamorous lives in expensive cities, her face illuminated by the phone screen and something I could only describe as longing. "Where are you going to go?" she asked, her voice small. "Hotel tonight. I'll figure out the rest tomorrow." I moved through the apartment with purpose now, grabbing my laptop, chargers, important documents. The lease is in both our names, but my name's first. I'll contact the landlord this week about getting it transferred solely to you. I can be out completely by the weekend. You're really leaving. Just like that. I stopped packing and sat on the edge of the bed, gesturing for her to sit in the chair across from me. She did, looking younger somehow, vulnerable in her oversized sweater and leggings. "Let me tell you what I've learned in my line of work," I said. "When an investment isn't performing, you have two options. You can hold on, hoping it'll turn around, watching your resources drain while you pray for a miracle. Or you can cut your losses, accept the sunk cost, and reallocate those resources somewhere with better potential. The worst thing you can do is the middle path, holding on half-heartedly while mentally you've already moved on. We're not an investment portfolio. No, but the principle applies. You're mentally in San Francisco or wherever your friends think your better life is waiting. Meanwhile, I'm here trying to build something with someone who's already got one foot out the door. That's not fair to either of us." Tears were streaming down her face now. "I do love you. I know you do. I love you too. And I meant it. But love isn't always enough. You need to be in love with the life you're building, not just the person you're building it with. And you're not in love with this life anymore." "We could try," she insisted. I could stop listening to Trevor and Madison. I could. "Vanessa, stop." My voice was gentle but firm. "You can't unring this bell. Now that you've said it out loud, now that I know you see me as an anchor instead of a partner, we can't go back. Every time you turn down an opportunity, I'll wonder if you're resenting me. Every time you're unhappy, I'll question if it's because you settled. That's not sustainable." I stood up and continued packing. She watched in silence, occasionally wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her sweater. "When did you become so cold?" she finally asked. The question stung, but I understood where it came from. I'm not cold. I'm protecting both of us from a slow, painful deterioration. 6 months from now, a year from now, we'd be having this same conversation, except with more resentment and wasted time. I'm choosing the quick, clean break over the slow bleed. My suitcase was packed now. I did a final sweep of the apartment, grabbing a few books from the shelf, my favorite coffee mug from the kitchen, the framed photo of my parents from the mantel. "What about the photo of us from Vancouver?" Vanessa asked, pointing to the frame on the bookshelf showing us on a hiking trail, grinning and windblown. "You keep it," I said. "Keep whatever memories make you happy." I was at the door now, suitcase in hand, messenger bag over my shoulder. Vanessa stood in the middle of our living room. Her living room now, looking shell-shocked. "This isn't how I thought tonight would go," she said. "What did you think would happen?" "I don't know. I thought maybe you'd fight for us. Prove them wrong." I set down my suitcase and walked back to her, taking both her hands in mine. "If I have to prove I'm worth being with, then I'm already not the right person for you. The right relationship doesn't require constant justification or defense against your friends' opinions. It just works because both people are all in." I kissed her forehead, a goodbye kiss that felt final and right, and headed back to the door. "Wait," she called out. "What if I'm making a mistake? What if I regret this?" I paused at the threshold. "Then you'll learn something valuable about yourself and what you actually want. Either way, you'll be free to find out." "And what about you? What are you going to do?" "Find someone who sees me as a launching pad instead of an anchor." I left without looking back, the door clicking shut behind me with a soft finality that felt like punctuation at the end of a long, complicated sentence. The hotel I checked into was a mid-range business place near Pike Place Market. Clean, impersonal, exactly what I needed. I ordered room service, unpacked my essentials, and sat on the generic beige comforter trying to process what had just happened. My phone buzzed. "Vanessa, I can't believe you actually left." I stared at the message for a long moment before responding. "You gave me permission when you agreed with your friends instead of defending us. That's not fair. I was being honest. I know. So was I? Can we at least talk tomorrow? About what? The relationship is over, Vanessa. We can handle logistics, but there's nothing left to negotiate. You're being cruel. I'm being kind. I'm setting us both free. She didn't respond after that. I called my best friend, Nathan, who picked up on the second ring despite it being nearly midnight. You sound weird, he said immediately. What's wrong? Vanessa and I broke up. I'm at a hotel. Jesus. What happened? I gave him the abbreviated version. When I finished, there was a long pause on the other end. Honestly, Nathan finally said, I saw this coming. You did? Man, the last few times we all hung out, she barely looked at you. And she kept mentioning how other couples were doing things, traveling more, making more money, living in better cities. It was like she was building a case. Why didn't you say anything? Would you have listened? You're the most analytical guy I know for everything except your own relationships. You'd convinced yourself everything was fine because the metrics looked good on paper. He wasn't wrong. I'd ignored the emotional data because the practical data seemed solid. We didn't fight much. We split bills fairly. We had mutual friends and compatible schedules. But I'd missed the most important metric, whether she actually wanted to be there. The hotel thing is temporary, right? Nathan asked. You need a place to crash? I'll figure something out. Maybe look for a short-term rental while I apartment hunt. Dude, my roommate just moved out to live with his girlfriend. I've got a spare room. It's yours if you want it. Month to month, no pressure. The offer caught me off guard. You serious? Yeah. I mean, you'll have to deal with my extensive Funko Pop collection and occasional midnight gaming sessions, but the room's furnished and the rent's reasonable. Nathan, that would be amazing. Cool. Move in whenever. I'll text you the address, though you've been here like 100 times. After we hung up, I felt something unexpected, relief. Not happiness exactly, but the absence of the low-grade anxiety that had been my constant companion for months without me fully acknowledging it. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my sister, Claire. Nathan just texted me. Are you okay? Yeah, surprisingly okay. Do you want to talk about it? Not really. Just needed it to be done. I'm proud of you. For what? Getting dumped? For respecting yourself enough to leave. Most people would have stayed and tried to change her mind. You can't change someone's mind about wanting a different life. You can only waste time pretending you can. Wise words from my baby brother. I'm 2 years younger than you, not a baby. You'll always be my baby brother. Even when you're being emotionally mature and making me look bad. I smiled at my phone. Claire had been through her own messy divorce 3 years ago and had come out the other side stronger and happier. If anyone understood walking away from something that looked good but felt wrong, it was her. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 32 text messages from Vanessa. I skimmed through them. A progression from anger to bargaining to desperation to anger again. Classic grief cycle, compressed into a single night. I called her back while drinking the hotel's terrible coffee. Finally, she answered. I've been trying to reach you all night. I saw. I needed space to think. So did I, and I realized we're making a huge mistake. For years together, and you're throwing it away over one conversation. Vanessa, it wasn't one conversation. It was the culmination of 6 months of you being somewhere else mentally. Last night just made it official. People have doubts. That's normal. It doesn't mean we should break up. There's a difference between occasional doubts and fundamental uncertainty about whether you want the life we're building. You have the latter. You don't get to decide that for me. You're right. But I do get to decide that I don't want to be with someone who sees me as holding them back. I deserve better than that, and honestly, so do you. There was a long silence. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller, more honest. I'm scared, she admitted. What if I can't do better? What if I end up alone and realize you were the best thing I ever had? Then you'll know for sure instead of always wondering. But Vanessa, you need to understand something. I'm not waiting around to see if you figure that out. I'm moving forward. Today, not as a backup plan or a safety net. I'm done. Where are you going to live? Nathan offered me his spare room. I'll move my stuff this weekend. This is really happening. Yes. What do I tell people? The question almost made me laugh. Even now, she was worried about optics. Tell them the truth. Tell them we wanted different things. Tell them whatever you want. I honestly don't care. We worked out the logistics in flat, emotionless tones. I'd come by Saturday with Nathan to get my furniture, just my desk, my bookshelf, and the dresser I'd brought from my old place. Everything else she could keep or donate or sell. The security deposit would be split when the lease ended in 4 months. We'd divide the shared streaming accounts and mutual friend circles through natural attrition rather than dramatic announcements. It was businesslike and sad and absolutely necessary. Saturday arrived too quickly and not quickly enough. Nathan showed up with his truck and his relentlessly positive attitude, treating the whole thing like we were just helping a buddy move rather than dismantling 4 years of shared life. Vanessa had made herself scarce, leaving a note that she'd be at Trevor's place until we were done. Probably better that way. Okay, this is more depressing than I expected, Nathan said as we loaded my dresser into his truck. This is really all you're taking? Most of the stuff was hers, or we bought together. I just want my things. Not even the couch? You guys picked that out together. She picked it out. I said it looked fine. Dude, that's basically your entire relationship in a nutshell. He wasn't wrong. As we were loading the last box, the apartment door opened. Vanessa stood there, apparently having come back early or never left. Hi, she said quietly. Hey, I secured the box in the truck bed. Thought you were at Trevor's. I was. I came back. She looked at Nathan. Can you give us a minute? Nathan glanced at me. I nodded. He walked around the corner, giving us space but staying within earshot in case things got ugly. I wanted to see you one more time, Vanessa said. To say I'm sorry for how I handled everything. Apology accepted. That's it. Just apology accepted? What else do you want me to say? I don't know. Something. Anything that shows you actually feel something about this ending. I leaned against the truck, considering her request. She deserved honesty, even if it wasn't what she wanted to hear. I feel relieved, I said finally. I feel sad that 4 years led to this, but I also feel free. I feel like I dodged a bullet. Not because you're a bad person, but because staying would have turned us both into people we didn't like. I feel grateful that you were honest, even if the honesty hurt. And I feel hopeful about what comes next, even though I have no idea what that looks like. Tears were running down her face again. I do love you. I know. Love just isn't enough sometimes. My mom said I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. Your mom thought you should have settled down at 25. No offense, but her life advice hasn't been particularly reliable for you. She almost smiled. Almost. Are you going to be okay? She asked. Eventually. I don't know. Nathan reappeared, reading the moment correctly. We should get going. Parking enforcement is brutal on this block. I gave Vanessa one final look, memorizing her face not as the woman I'd loved, but as the person she was becoming, someone I didn't know anymore and probably wouldn't recognize in a few years. Take care of yourself, I said. You too. That was it. No dramatic kiss, no last-minute confession, no movie moment where everything resolved itself neatly. Just two people acknowledging the end of something that had run its course. Nathan and I drove away in silence until we hit the freeway. You handled that well, he said. Did I? Feels like I handled it by not handling it. Nah, man. You handled it by knowing when to fold. That's wisdom. He merged into traffic. So what's the plan now? Survive. Rebuild. Figure out what I actually want instead of just accepting what's comfortable. Deep. Shut up. I'm serious though. This is your chance to do something different. You've been in relationship mode since you were 27. When's the last time you did something just for you? I thought about it. Really thought about it. When was the last time I'd made a major decision based solely on what I wanted rather than what made sense for us as a couple? I don't remember, I admitted. Exactly. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you moved in, order the greasiest pizza in Seattle, and make a list of all the things you've wanted to do but couldn't because you were compromising or considering someone else's preferences. That sounds dangerously close to a feelings exercise. It's a strategic planning session. You love those. Despite everything, I laughed. Moving into Nathan's place was easier than expected. He'd cleared out his former roommate's stuff, and the room was basically a blank slate. I spent the next few days setting up my space, establishing new routines, and actively not checking Vanessa's social media. Work became a welcome distraction. My boss noticed I was putting in longer hours and offered me a project I'd been vying for, a high-profile client acquisition that would mean more responsibility and better visibility within the firm. You seem different lately, he said during our check-in meeting. More focused. Personal life simplified recently, I said diplomatically. Good for you. Channel that energy here. This project could be career-defining if you nail it. I threw myself into the work with an intensity that surprised me. Turns out, when you're not spending emotional energy on a relationship that's slowly dying, you have a lot more bandwidth for everything else. 3 weeks after the breakup, I was at a coffee shop near the office when I ran into Madison, one-third of the friend trio that had sparked this whole thing. Oh, she said, stopping mid-order. Hi. Madison. Awkward silence. The barista looked between us, sensing drama. I'll have a large vanilla latte, I told him, then looked at Madison. Your usual core to do is on me. You don't have to. I know. We waited for our drinks in uncomfortable silence until Madison finally spoke. Vanessa's a mess. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you though? I considered the question. Yeah, actually. I don't wish her pain. I just couldn't be the person she needed me to be. She said you walked out without fighting for the relationship. Did she tell you what she said to me first? Madison had the grace to look uncomfortable. She mentioned the conversation might have come up about priorities. She told me her friends thought I was holding her back, and when I asked if she agreed, she couldn't say no. What exactly was I supposed to fight for after that? Most people would have tried to change her mind. Most people would have wasted months or years in a relationship where one person is mentally already gone. I chose differently. Our drinks arrived. Madison grabbed hers, hesitating before leaving. For what it's worth, she said, Trevor thinks you did the right thing. And honestly, so do I. Vanessa's been spiraling since San Francisco, and nothing any of us said helped. Maybe she needed this. Maybe we both did. She nodded and left. I sat there with my coffee, thinking about how strange it was that the people who'd indirectly caused the breakup were now validating it. 2 months post-breakup, I was genuinely thriving. The project at work was exceeding expectations. I'd started rock climbing at a gym near Nathan's place and had discovered I actually enjoyed it. I'd reconnected with old friends I'd neglected during the relationship. My life had expanded in ways I hadn't anticipated. One Friday night, Nathan dragged me to a friend's birthday party at a bar in Ballard. I wasn't really in the mood for socializing, but he insisted. You've been a hermit long enough, he said. Time to remember how to talk to humans outside of work. The party was exactly what you'd expect. Loud music, craft cocktails with ridiculous names, people yelling over each other to be heard. I was nursing a bourbon and seriously considering leaving when someone tapped my shoulder. You look like you'd rather be anywhere else, a woman said, smiling. She had dark hair, sharp eyes, and the kind of direct gaze that felt like a challenge. That obvious? You're standing in the corner doing the social obligation shuffle. I recognize it because I'm doing the same thing. Social obligation shuffle? You know, present enough to not be rude, engaged enough to not seem antisocial, but mentally planning your escape route. I laughed. Guilty. I'm here because my roommate threatened to hide my good coffee if I didn't come. I'm here because it's my sister's birthday, and family guilt is a powerful motivator. She extended her hand. I'm Kara. Nice to meet you, Kara. We ended up talking for 2 hours, tucked in our corner while the party raged around us. She was a civil engineer working on infrastructure projects around the city. She'd recently moved back to Seattle after 3 years in Portland. She was funny, sarcastic, and refreshingly blunt. So what's your story? She asked. Recent breakup? You have that relearning how to be single energy. Is it that obvious? Little bit, but in a good way. You seem like you're figuring things out rather than falling apart. 2 months out of a 4-year relationship. Still adjusting. What happened, if you don't mind me asking? I gave her the summary version. She listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. She actually said her friends thought you were holding her back? Kara shook her head. That's brutal. Honest, at least. Honest and brutal aren't mutually exclusive. But you walking out that night, that took guts. Or stubbornness. No, guts. Most people would have tried to negotiate or compromise their way through it. You recognized a fundamental incompatibility and acted on it. That's rare. We exchanged numbers before leaving. No pressure, no expectations, just 2 people who'd enjoyed talking to each other. Over the next few weeks, Kara and I texted occasionally. Nothing serious, just sharing random observations about our days or sending each other articles we thought the other might find interesting. It was easy and light and completely different from the heavy, fraught communication that had characterized the end of things with Vanessa. 3 months after the breakup, I finally ran into Vanessa. Literally, we collided outside a grocery store, both of us juggling too many bags. Sorry, I.O. She stopped. Hi. Hey, how are you? I'm good. You? Good. We stood there awkwardly. 2 people who'd once known everything about each other now reduced to pleasantries. You look different, she said. Your hair's longer. Yeah, haven't gotten around to a haircut. It looks good. Thanks. You cut yours. She touched her newly short bob self-consciously. Needed a change. More awkward silence. I saw on LinkedIn you got the new project, she said. Congratulations. Thanks. I heard you're traveling more for work. Yeah, they're expanding my territory. It's actually been really good. I'm glad. And I meant it. She looked lighter somehow, less burdened. Maybe the breakup had been good for her too. Listen, she said, I've been wanting to say something. I'm sorry for how everything went down. Not that we broke up. I think you were right about that. But for dragging my feet and making you be the one to end it. That wasn't fair. Apology accepted. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry I couldn't be what you needed. You were exactly what I needed, she said softly. Just not forever. And that's okay. We said our goodbyes, this time with genuine warmth. As I watched her walk away, I felt nothing but gratitude. Not for the relationship ending, but for both of us finally being honest about what we wanted. That night, Kara texted asking if I wanted to grab dinner. Nothing formal, just food and conversation. I said yes. Because that's the thing about removing obstacles. It doesn't just free the other person. It frees you too. To try new things, meet new people, build a life that actually fits instead of one you've compromised yourself into. For months after leaving Vanessa staring at the door, I was sitting across from Kara at a small Italian place, laughing at her story about a construction mishap that had somehow resulted in a fountain being installed backwards. So water was just shooting into the street? I asked. Like a broken fire hydrant. The contractor's face was priceless. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. How's the date going? Not a date. Just dinner. Sure. That's why you changed shirts 3 times. I smiled and put my phone away. Everything okay? Kara asked. Yeah. Just my roommate being Nathan. He seems like a good friend. The best. She smiled, and in that moment, I realized something important. I wasn't looking to replace what I'd lost. I was building something entirely new. Something that fit the person I was becoming rather than the person I'd been. And that was exactly where I needed to be.